Hello there and welcome to episode 25 of the Lockdown Diaries with me, Chris Carl. Yes, 26 days in lockdown here in Spain on the Costa del Sol and counting. We've got another 2 weeks to go at least, possibly more, but we're still staying positive and strong and doing the right thing. This podcast is just all about giving you daily tips and a few laughs along the way and a few binge-watching recommendations and a few of my experiences in lockdown, which of course can't be a great deal because, well, in lockdown, in my little flat on the Costa del Sol, it's a bit overcast today, but I did hear a loud banging coming from the corridor this morning, so I looked out my door. A little bit further down the corridor was a man known locally as a burglar. He was kicking his own door in. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Working from home." I think we'll move on. Now, one of the interesting things of doing this podcast is I'm getting a lot of friend requests on Facebook from around the world. It's beautiful. I have now got friends all over the world, none in this country. However, another thing I've noticed about the lockdown, especially on Facebook pages such as Family Lockdown Tips and Ideas and Family Lockdown Tips and Ideas UK, thank you to those guys for sharing this podcast, there are so many creative people about, adults, parents and their children, making rainbows and bits of art and art out of twigs and rocks and all sorts of things they can find around the house, and making art and beautiful paintings and pictures, making playhouses and singing songs and doing dances, doing little plays, doing the drama games I recommend. I think this generation of children are going to grow up to be among the most creative, kind and thoughtful. They're all being homeschooled, but they're also getting an education in being social and loving with a family and also creating some wonderful, wonderful things. So I think that's a great thing for the future. Our future leaders and street sweepers and actors and musicians and nurses and doctors are all going to be very creative. I did see on the internet, how true it is I don't know, about a woman who is homeschooling her son, young son of about 12 years old. She received a phone call from him this morning. He was in bed. He phoned in to say Mr. School Bus and wouldn't be in today. Clever thinking young man there, well done. So on today's show, I thought we'd have a little look at strange customer complaints, weird and wonderful customer complaints. Yesterday, of course, we did silly things that people put on job applications, strange hobbies and that kind of thing. I was once asked in an interview what my strength was, and I said hindsight. And they said, well, hindsight isn't really a strength. And I said, well, I see that now. We shall move on and look at some strange complaints from people to customer services. This one was an inquiry to Xbox customer services on Twitter. A fella calling himself a Lonely Dad wrote to Xbox support and said, I need help. And they said, sure, what's going on tonight that we can help you with? And he said, why did my wife leave me? I think you might have the answer right there. And sometimes customer service personnel get bored and start pranking each other. For example, Old Spice, the aftershave company, trolled Taco Bell on Twitter, saying, why is it that fire sauce isn't actually made with any real fire? That seems like false advertising. Taco Bell replied, is your deodorant made with really old spices? Very nice. In the United Kingdom, a fella calling himself Chili P wrote to the Royal Mail, the postal service, and said, I'd like to make a complaint. My Valentine's cards still haven't arrived. To which the Royal Mail, the postal service, replied, sorry to hear that. When exactly did your mother post them and what service was used? Well done, the Royal Mail. Burn. And finally, for today at least, a fella called James Rhodes, sorry to name and shame you, James, but you did put it on Twitter, wrote to O2, the mobile phone network company in the United Kingdom, with a complaint. Please get your SMS working. I sent this girl 246 texts last night asking her out, and none of her replies have come through. To which O2 replied, hi James, that's a lot of texts. Maybe next time you should try sending one text to 246 different girls. Ouch. Alrighty then, it's time for one of my regular features on the Lockdown Diaries podcast. Time to have a little look at this day in history. Today is, of course, what is it? The 9th of April, 2020. So let's have a little look at what happened on this day in history. Well, of course, as many of you I'm sure know, in 1413, Henry V was crowned King of England. He became King Henry V on this day in the year 1413. In 1872, you'll know this name, Samuel R. Percy. Yes, of course, the man who patented dried milk. And in 1992, on this day, the 9th of April, John Major was elected Prime Minister of the United Kingdom after a landslide victory, the most votes in British electoral history. John Major there, becoming Prime Minister on this day. I wonder if his name had been John Sargent, would he have gone quite so far? Today's birthdays include, in 1336, Tamerlane, a Turkic conqueror and founder of the Timurid dynasty, was born in Uzbekistan. In 19 1975, English footballer, soccer player to the rest of the world, Robbie Fowler of Liverpool was born on this day in 1975. And finally, last birthday for today in 1990, Kristen Stewart, American actress, was born in Los Angeles. That was handy for her future career. She of Bella Swan and, of course, the Twilight Saga. Happy birthday to all those. Apart from you, Tamerlane, you were a naughty boy. All right, time for Chris's coincidence story for today. And whenever anybody says to me, come on, Chris, I don't believe in coincidences, I say, wow, really? Me neither. What a... Yes, indeed. All right, in 1953, television reporter Irv Kupinset was in London to cover the coronation of Elizabeth II. He opened a drawer in his room at the Savoy. Nice. The Savoy Hotel. He found some items that identified themselves. I don't mean they spoke. They had identification on them, belonging to a man called Harry Hannin. Strangely, Harry Hannin, who was a basketball star with the Harlem Globetrotters, was a very good friend of Kupinet's. But 2 days later, he was just about to tell Hannin of this very strange discovery when he got a letter from Hannin. Hannin told Kupsinet that he'd been staying in the Hotel Meurice in Paris, and he opened a drawer there, very similar sort of story, and found a tie with Kupsinet's names on it. So they both found items belonging to each other in hotels they were staying in. What are the chances? We'll have another strange coincidence story tomorrow. All right then, time for my binge-watching recommendation for today. By the time this lockdown is over, we'll have watched everything that's ever been made. Hollywood and the BBC and Netflix better get busy making some new stuff for us to watch. But in the meantime, I still have a few recommendations left. And today's is called Working Mums. Working Mums is a Canadian television sitcom. It's been running since 2017. It stars Catherine Reitman, Jessalyn Wanlin, Danny Kind, and Juno Rinaldi. It is directed by and created by Catherine Reitman, who stars in it. She's kind of the main character. And quite obviously, it's all about, well, working mums, hence the very clever title. And it covers 4 very different 30-something working mothers and their friends who are trying to balance their jobs, family life, and love life in modern-day Toronto, Canada. It is very, very funny. It's very, very clever, actually. It is a very slick and clever sitcom. There can be some grown-up words in it, so do be careful. And in particular, for British listeners, people in the United Kingdom, you may have seen a series on British television called Motherland. It is kind of similar to that. So that's my binge-watching recommendation for today. The very, very talented and very, very funny Catherine Reitman in Working Mums. And there have been 4 seasons so far. The new season is currently out. All right, then, time for a couple of drama games for you. At least games, anyway, for you to play during this lockdown. These are both about, I suppose, observation. First one is called Quick Change Artist. Everybody has to sit in a circle. One person has to be the quick change artiste. They leave the room and change something about their appearance ever so slightly. They can untie their hair if it's up in a ponytail or something. They can put their shorts on backwards or untie their shoes. Something like that. Something very, very simple. And then they have to come back in the room and the rest of the people in the circle have to guess what has changed. Similarly, you can have all the players stay in a circle and choose one person to be it. The it has to leave so that they can't hear or see anything. And then you move one person in the circle to a different place. And they have to come back in and guess who it was. And finally, another quick one for you. Everybody has to write 1 or 2 names of famous people that they know everybody else would know. Can be somebody from history, can be a TV character, somebody from a cartoon, doesn't matter. Everybody has to write 2 or 3. You fold them up, put them in a bowl, then each person draws one out, and then they have to be that person in front of the rest of the crowd, and everybody has to guess who that famous person is. Those are your games for today. All right, there's no holding back. It's time for The Punisher. Yes, Carlos White, who lives in a place called Bernamagna here on the very beautiful Costa del Sol in Spain, just up the road from me. He's a big lover of puns, and this is the pun that he's sharing with you today against my better judgment. However, Carlos says that, of course, nobody can go out, but he fancied some takeaway food, so he ordered a load of stuff from Domino's Pizza. They knocked on his door, he opened the door, and there was a horse with a blindfold on it, and he said, no, I said mascarpone. We'll move on. Now, if you want to hear my dulcet tones, apart from this podcast, you can find me on a local radio station here on the Costa del Sol, 93.6 Global Radio. That means obviously 93.6 FM on the old radio up and down the Costa del Sol and around the world and who knows where else on all the W's.global.fm. I'm on every Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. You can go to the website and get more details. They also have lots of up-to-date and accurate information about the virus and local and international news as well. A quick shout out to all the brilliant Facebook pages sharing this podcast and also sharing, of course, all the lovely tips and creative ideas that I mentioned earlier in this very show. Well done, everybody. What a lot of great ideas everybody's having and so beautifully sharing with each other. Let's keep up this chain of human kindness and love and keep keep going and keep being positive as we get through this coronavirus. We've got another 2 weeks to go in lockdown in Spain. It's possibly and probably, and who knows, but could be extended way into May. But we're going to keep going. We're going to keep sharing stuff. We're going to keep showing our love and appreciation for all the key workers and medical staff and all those wonderful people putting themselves at risk so we can just sit at home. We love you guys, thank you. And all the people around the world sharing stuff between themselves and giving ideas to keep everybody active. Well done, everybody. In the meantime, if you want more details about this podcast or you'd like to listen to previous episodes, I'd like to think you'd like to, you can find them all on my Facebook page, The Lockdown Diaries. Lockdown is all one word. You just keep scrolling down, you'll find past episodes. And you can also send me a message, I'll answer, we can have a little chat. Once again, thanks to everybody listening around the world, people all around the world tuning into this. I really appreciate it. Thank you. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe. Stay at home, no matter what. Just a quick trip to the shop and back. Stay at home. Let's keep in contact, but not physically, and let's keep spreading the love and positivity. That's all I've got time for. That was the Lockdown Diaries with me, Chris Carl. I'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you so much, and goodbye now.